Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the repair of this behemoth. And this will be either part 3 or part 4. I'm unsure if I want to post the other video about where I took this off, just because it's kind of all over the place and kind of weird with me needing to wait a couple of months in order to get these, which have been the biggest reason as to why the video's been delayed for a while. But now that I have them, this should be able to be steamrolled right along. And I have pressure tested the system or pressure tested the coolant system, and that's all good. So there won't be any need to go any further with getting into the coolant transfer pipe down there or dealing with this water pump, even though this might get replaced in the future anyways, just because it's kind of old, and also because of stuff the previous owner did. But continuing on, in this video, either episode 3 or episode 4, I will be finally putting in the new valve cover and valve cover gasket for this bank, which I forgot which one it is, but the driver's side bank of the car. I do apologize, I am sick. But before we do that, we need to get onto this one. Now, when switching them over from the old one to the new one, you need to grab a few things. One are these little green rings. So far, I have noticed no real issue with mine, and so they're going to be going right back in. And so this specific one that I got came from this bottom one, and I will just put it right back into the one I got out of in case they are different. Then you need to take one of the two, which as far as I can tell are identical Hall effect sensors, and just slide them in. And they will take a little bit of force as they are a little bit tight, but they should go in to some degree and at some point. Okay, so after a little bit more effort than I wanted, I did manage to get them both into there. And then what you're going to do after that is take one bolt, such as these, which are the ones that came out of it, and you'll just be screwing them back into their place. They don't connect to anything inside of the actual car. These screws literally just screw into the valve cover. So before I forget or before I lose something, or just to make it easier, I'll just be installing them here and then installing this whole thing with them into the car as one piece. So once you take these, either you get an inverted Torx socket or just a 5mm socket, and you can begin to put them in. And then just tighten until it gets snug, as you don't really want to break anything. So with that, you then take the other one and repeat with putting it into the hole, turning it a few times, and then finally tightening. Okay, so before I get started with moving that actual thing into here, a quick little showing. These are the spark plug tubes that came out of this car. They can go all the way in and slide into there, and very easily can get knocked out, and just like that, they're out. The new ones, however, which are these, and as far as I can tell, the only difference between the two is the metal sleeve that is wrapped onto the new ones. And as you can see, they are basically identical and also functionally identical, considering this one also fits directly into this hole, albeit with a little more force needed, but it also doesn't come out nearly as easily. And it'll make putting the actual valve cover on way easier, and it'll make just a whole lot less hassle for me when trying to put it into there. As with these ones, not only would they need to be replaced anyways, since they're leaking oil into the spark plug actual little seat, but when installing them, the slightest little knock on these would cause them to come loose, and I would have to restart all over again. And that would just be such a headache. But with these new ones, not only is the oil issue fixed, which is the main reason why I got them, but they'll also make putting this all together way easier. And for lack of a better recording ability, I guess, I can't exactly record putting the valve cover onto there, since this is a phone that I'm recording on, and that takes two hands to carry around and to put onto here. But once it's on, I'll be able to record the, as far as I can find, recommended bolt procedure and tightening procedures, as I hear there is some, but or I hear there is some kind that you have to do, but not 100% sure. So anyways, I'll get started on that and check back soon. Okay, so as you can tell, I got it in, which wasn't as easy as I hoped for. This actually took quite a while, but I did find out, and I did some searching, but not all that much. Essentially, there isn't much of a proper bolt pattern for how you put these in, but the only way I could get all of them to go in easily was to put these two in first, then these two, and then go along the outside and get these couple, and then finally end off with the last four. That was pretty much the only way I could figure out how to get these all 13 of them to go into it. And after you get all 13 of those to go into it, next step is to then reattach this, which simply clips into the little clips down there. Then, since I don't know how much room there's going to be or how much slack is on this cable, make sure to have this be inside of that, inside of this little metal clipping. Make sure you have it inside of there before you go through with finally putting it in. Once you get it through, then you can pull it to give it slack or taut or whatever. And then once you have that done, you can take these two wires, connect them to be the groundings for these, which have their own little valley. And then once you're done with that, that is this side effectively done. And if you want, you can add this piece back onto there, but essentially that is this valve cover done. Then, since there's two of them, you gotta do that one now, which is the exact same one as this, but while this one already had very little room, that one has even less and is going to be way more difficult to get out and way more frustrating, because all of those have sharp edges and are very annoying. Over here, it's just a lot of pipes. So that side I am not really looking forward to doing. But nevertheless, it has to be done. So yeah.